Today we're going to demonstrate the Global Marketing Partners Channel Informer. The Channel Informer is a dashboard style business intelligence interface, and it allows a vendor or a manufacturer to monitor their distribution sales and their inventory levels in an informative, easy to understand format, and you can do it from any computer with a web connection. We're going to start up here at the top. The very top we see the reseller POS grid. This POS grid is going to show me my sales for each particular reseller or customer of the distributor, and I can sort by distributor. In this case we'll sort by Ingram Micro, and I can see all of my Ingram Micro customers and their sales per month going back 12 months. I'm going to switch it back to all my distributors, refresh my data. I can do this for an individual SKU, or I can look at the trend for an individual reseller by clicking on that row, which changes the grid and the graph to the left to show the sales in the last 12 months of that individual reseller. Now if you'll notice, there's two Amazon.coms here. You can see that they're slightly different. Sometimes this is because a distributor enters them differently into their system. Other times it's because they're a different division, maybe government or education. But if I want to see what the bottom line of my Amazon sales are by combining them all, I'm going to use the Channel Informer's category selections. And I'm going to show you how to select your categories right now. We're going to go into the dashboard preferences. And the dashboard preferences allows us to categorize our SKUs as well as categorize our resellers. We're going to go into the reseller categorization. And you can see here we can enter a new category by clicking on the new category button. I'm going to add a category. We'll call it new category 2. New cat 2. And I can save it. I'm going to save my changes. And now that makes that new category 2 available to categorize any of my resellers. We'll go to new category 2. And now this reseller at the top has been recategorized. Now let me show you why this is so very helpful. As you can see, I've categorized all of my Amazons. There's 5 of them or 4 of them here. I've categorized them all as Amazon Combine. This will combine all their sales so that I can see a bottom line of how my Amazon sales are each month. I've also combined the 2 apples. You can see they're almost identical, but there's something in a space after the, or a punctuation. Any slight difference in the computer will see them as different. So I'm going to combine them by giving them the same category. I'm going to save my changes here. And I'm going to go back to my grid, and I'm going to sort by categories. Now I'm sure that my Amazon numbers are correct, and they're going to show my Amazon sales for the past 12 months. I'm going to click here, and it's going to show my sales on the graph next to the grid. Now I've also added other categories. Another one is e-tail. This will show my e-tail sales. My retail sales. You can see I had a sharp dip at January right after Christmas. And I've also created 2 categories called Sales Rep A and Sales Rep B. These are to track commission sales. I can use this to show my Sales Rep B. Let's say he's the East Coast, and my Sales Rep A, he'd be my West Coast sale, and I can see that Sales Rep B is fairly consistent and having a great end of the graph here in July. I can see that Sales Rep A is kind of dipping, and he needs more of my attention. I've also categorized my education, my government sales, and my sales going to another country. These are my sales, for example, they're going to Ingram, Canada, and I don't have any of them in these SKUs. Right below the POS grid, there's a button that says Download Last Month's POS. This is very handy for our customers that want a detailed report showing line by line items sold from the distributor, and by pushing this button you'll get a CSV report that's compatible with Excel that you can download and save to your hard drive, and you can manipulate that data any way you'd like. We're going to move down a little more, and now we have the Inventory on Hand grid. This will show my SKU for each distributor, and I can also see my categories that I've created for these SKUs, and I did that in my dashboard preferences, it has the same interface as categorizing a reseller. I have my unit cost, and I have a small description of the products. In this case, we're selling widgets, and we have several different kinds of widgets. We have consignment SKUs, where we're selling in a consignment model, and we have accessories and hardware. We also have several hardware SKUs that we're selling, and I also have a license that I'm selling down at the bottom here, my user license, and that's a widget 20 user license. And I have a column here that's called run rate. Now this comes in very handy for distributors like Ingram Micro that only want to keep a certain quantity on their shelves. They use a 12-week run rate, and they take the average sales for every week in a 12-week range, and these are going to show the run rate at a 12-week range. This is 23 units, and as you can see, I have a large amount of inventory for this product because it's selling very well. I have another one with a smaller run rate that has smaller inventory levels, and what I want to do is avoid things like this from going to 9 units to 15 units, and if it keeps increasing, which you can see it hasn't, I might want to cut back on shipping that and maybe suggest to the buyer that they're ordering too many. Maybe a reseller stopped selling that product to avoid costly stock balance returns at the end of the quarter. This is a great tool to help cut that down. I can also at any time change from showing the individual distributors to all the distributors, and when I see a report that I'd like to export, I can export it to Excel just like the reseller grid. It's also right here shows me a clear number that my total liability in the channel is $20,281, and that's the quantity, the cost of the units that I have that are out in the channel right now. As we go lower, I see a button that says unique resellers. Now this is a great tool for when I get new resellers or customers that I want to categorize. Now in the time period between 7/22 and 8/22, I've had 3 new customers that have started buying my products, and this is fully adjustable. I can take any time range. Now I can go into the vendor dashboard preferences, and I can categorize these so that they'll fall into the right categories. Maybe one of them is sales rep A. This one is definitely education because it's George Mason University, and this might be a VAR or a reseller or an e-tailer that I want to categorize. Once I categorize those, it's easier to keep up with them as I can keep track of the new resellers that come on board. Now below the unique resellers button, I have my month-to-date and year-to-date pie charts. This is going to show who's buying my product, and I have my top 5 along with other, which will always be the biggest because it's a breakdown of all of the onesie-twosies that are buying my product. Now I can track the new resellers, or I can track all resellers and change this will show the new resellers that are on board from the unique resellers above, or it'll show the month-to-date and year-to-date sales per each reseller. To the right of those, I have the product sales by SKU or category. I'm going to switch to SKU here, and this will show each of my individual SKUs which they're selling and the ratios of what's selling more. And in this case, this Ingram Micro SKU seems to be outselling everything, including the miscellaneous others. I can also switch from quantity to revenue, which can show me which are making the most money. And my year-to-date total is $217,000 some odd dollars, and it's just a quick reference. I can take one look at it and know where I am for the year. To the right of the pie charts, we have the sales goal gauge. This is going to let me set a sales goal. In this case, it's set at $25,000, and that'll be the size of the entire gauge. It maxes out at $25,000, and the small needle is going to show my sales for last year's month to date, and that would be August up until this date in August last year, which is at, let's see, 15,000, and then it's going to show this year, which is only at 6,000. So sales are dipping from last year in August month to date. I can change my sales goal or the scale of the gauge itself by using this drop down, and it'll resize the gauge to 38,000 in this case. And this is an easy way to keep track of whether sales are dipping in comparison to last year's month-to-date sales. Below the month-to-date gauge, I have a bar chart that easily shows me a comparison of month sales from last year and this year. As you can see, July, I'm doing way better in July than I was. August, the sales aren't finished yet. We aren't finished calculating, so August I still have a chance to beat last year's. In September, of course, there's no sales yet. So I can click back to April, May, and June, and this will show me the sales comparisons for the 2 years. Alright, this concludes my presentation of the Global Marketing Partners Channel Informer. If you have any questions, just ask somebody at the booth and they'll be glad to help you. Thank you very much for your time.